Hey everybody, just out here working again, and I was listening to a podcast, and I've been wondering about how I'm going to do my podcast this evening, Our Hill to Die On, and there's a portion of it called Thoughts for the Shitter, which is pretty cool. And I was going to hit more on last week's Thoughts for the Shitter about the stop signs, because stop signs have been installed in Forest Hill. It's not even a thing. It's not like they might come, they might not come, this, that, or the other. They've been installed. And so last week I said, hey, comment, I might be a retard on this subject of stop signs. I want to know what everybody says. And the majority of people commented didn't like the stop signs like I did. But there's a couple people that I respect in this town. They're nice people. I've dealt with them multiple times. A good friend of mine, Rory, he told me, hey, when my house was, next to my house was on fire one time, he called me directly and said, hey, next to it. So I'm indebted to him for that. He likes the stop signs because he goes to, Masters and, the other little eateries in town. And he sees how fast people go. Another old Jason Conheim Spoon, I know he didn't comment, but I know he doesn't like it because his house sits right on Forest Hill Road, which used to be my in-laws' old house. I spent a lot of time at that house. And, you have all these weekend characters that they're coming in from out of town and they're hauling ass, through town. They're doing, 50, 60 with toy haulers behind them, throwing their motorcycles up the road. So, I understand where they're coming from. Also, one more, Sharon Page commented on that podcast. Hey, Jane says, everybody's just going too fast. I for one, I'm in favor of the stop sign. Well, I get it. I get the going fast thing. I don't disagree with any of those three people on behalf of people going too fast. I just think, personally, for what our taxpayers go to, that the stop sign was the cheapest way out. And I don't think that, that they just, we got complaints of people going too fast. We're just going to throw a stop sign instead of actually making people follow the law of going 30 miles an hour through town. Making people follow the law, And then I go and I talk to some friends of mine that work for PCSO, and I say, hey, why can't we get the resident deputy, the guy that's there every day, because we only have one deputy in town. Why can't we get him to start enforcing the law there? And they tell me, when this is true, all this stuff is true. Everybody's arguments that they say are all true. And they say, hey, we got, we're not really responsible for enforcing traffic laws. Okay, and I've heard that before from PCSO. But at the same time, why can't we just put the guy that's off duty, why can't we just put him there? And why can't they enforce the traffic law? I know that's CHP's problem, or so, the PCSO tells me. But why in the hell can't we put CHP, or get CHP up here? We've spent enough in tax dollars. We spent enough in gas tax. Where's this money going to? And it's not to berate our local CHP officers or our local PCSO, because a lot of those guys are my friends, and I enjoy their friendship. That's not their call, right? That comes down from state government higher up on where they're going to spend their money and where the traffic calls are going to be. So now I understand why CHP doesn't have a big enough budget. They don't have enough staffing. I think their budget's probably all right, but they don't have enough staffing. They can't hire enough good guys to where they can put a CHP officer. We used to have, Forest Hill got pretty lucky. We used to have a couple of CHP officers that actually lived in Forest Hill, so they would patrol it as they went down the hill. But now we don't have that. So to get a CHP up here, they got to not have something else going on down the hill. And there's a lot more population in Placer County going on down the hill. There's a lot more traffic accidents and this, that, and the other thing. And drunk drivers and speeding and, going on down there compared to Forest Hill. So that brings me back to, well, why in the hell don't we just put PCSO right in town, right next to the substation? Okay, go park at the substation and say, hey, if there's people flying through this part of town, pull them over. And I'm not saying that I ain't guilty of going too fast through town, but I'm not saying that I shouldn't be pulled over for that either. Pull me over. I don't, that'll slow my ass down, I'm sure. And even with these stop signs, to me, it's just the lazy part. I feel like as residents, we spend enough, and especially in the state of California, we spend enough in tax dollars, or we provide enough tax dollars, and yet we're not getting enough representation. Maybe we're getting more representation than we should. Maybe we are. Maybe we got to look into that and go, well, hell, Forest Hill, if we really want this, maybe that's all we do deserve is a stop sign. Because maybe we shouldn't even deserve a Placer County Sheriff's Officer to be up here all day. Maybe we can't pay that guy enough. But I think out of, we have like 6,000 residents in Forest Hill, right around 3,200 residences that are paying property taxes. So we pay, 3,200 out of 3,200 homes, and each home's paying roughly, on an average of $2,500. How much? And those are all just stats right off the top of my head. If we're paying, $2,500 times 3,200, what's that number come down to? So that's quite a bit. It's in the millions, I do believe. So, actually, what the hell is that number? Let's talk about that. See if I can operate a piece of equipment and do math at the same time. So, 3,000. Let's go 3,000 times 1,000. What's that? 3,000 times 1,000. That's 3 million, right? So 3,000 times 2,000 is 6 million. And then the 500. So you're looking at You're looking at over $7 million that Forest Hill puts to the county every year. Now, granted, we have all the other roadways that we have now. So you can't count I-80 because I-80 is that's funded through maintenance on that is funded through the gas tax, which all of us residents pay for it. But so on all the other roads, so if we are we producing? How much does the school cost us a year? Because the PUD, since I'm on the board of that, I know how much money we're taking in with that, right? So we're doing about $2 million a year. The fire district budget's about $2 million a year. So, and both of those are special taxes. So we have $7 million. Over $7 million a year that's going towards our county roads department that's up here in Forest Hill and maintaining our roads, and then our school and our Placer County sheriffs. So, I think we probably have enough money out of that $7 million. And I mean, you have certain counties, departments of the county too that got to get a little bit, the building code department and all that stuff that's got to take care of building that's going on in Forest Hill. So I feel like we're probably producing enough money in the county, or for the county, to have our own PCSO. And now, if that's the case, why shouldn't we have a say on what we want our sheriff's deputies to be doing? Why can't we have our sheriff's deputy, since he's up here and he's patrolling our area? Why can't we have them, patrolling the way we want them to patrol? Hey, can't you sit there until you get a call? Can't you sit at the substation and slow traffic down? Can't you pull somebody over? Why can't you do that? What's wrong with that? Is that a police officers union thing where they don't want to do traffic stops, or is that an equipment thing so they don't have radar in the PCSO rigs? Well, how much is radar? What do we got to do that? We're already paying for this stuff, and then you just want to be lazy and put a stop sign in. And that's not PCSO being lazy. That's, I think, just the county in general being lazy. So, hey, not the roads department either. And you got to remember, all this stuff comes from up on high. So, with that said, I feel like our county government has gotten too big to really start looking out what its constituency actually wants. They didn't come to the and Sharon said, well, hey, if you were at the last forum meeting, they said they were going to do this. Yeah, they just told us they were going to do it, from my understanding. And last year, when I was still on the forum, they come to us and they said, hey, what do we want to do? Do we want to do a stop sign or whatnot? And the forum said, no, let's not do a stop sign. How about let's try putting, I think we might have brought up the PCSO deal and said, hey, let's try to do that. Obviously, that fell through. And then we said, well, can't we put up one of those signs that flashes and says, hey, let's go a little slower? And because a lot of, that has how fast you're going on the sign. And then people, respond to that. Of course, you got to have a threat of somebody actually doing something about it. If they know there's no cops in town, they're just going to haul ass. And if they know the cops can't pull them over, or aren't going to pull them over because, traffic enforcement isn't really part of their purview, then they're just going to haul ass. Why can't we do this? So people start running that stop sign, who's going to enforce that law? Because they weren't enforcing it before, so who's going to be up in Forest Hill to enforce the law that they run the stop sign? It's anyway, I don't know. I just had to get that off my chest. Hope everybody has a good day. We'll be talking to you.